From Dr. Speak Now, this is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. In this program, the Ebola outbreak in Congo is growing, and misinformation is making it worse.
Hey, I'm David.
And I'm Anna. In this program, we look at one big news story and the vocabulary in the headlines that will help you understand it.
You can find all the vocabulary and headlines from this episode.
So let's get into the story.
An Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo has become one of the largest on record. Ebola is a serious and deadly disease caused by a virus. It spreads from person to person through contact with infected body fluids.
This particular outbreak involves a rare type of Ebola called the Bundibugyo strain. It was first discovered in Uganda in 2007 and is less common than other types of Ebola.
So far, there have been more than 500 suspected cases and over 130 deaths. Cases have now spread east toward the border with Uganda, raising fears of a wider regional outbreak.
What makes this outbreak especially difficult to control is not just the virus itself. Health workers on the ground are facing a serious problem. Many local communities do not trust them.
Some people are refusing treatment, others are attacking the health workers who come to help. And a lot of false information is spreading faster than the virus itself.
And our first headline is about this.
This headline is from AP News, an American news agency.
Ebola outbreak in Congo erupts into one of the largest on record.
And that headline again from AP News. Ebola outbreak in Congo erupts into one of the largest on record.
This headline uses the verb erupts. David, can you break it down?
Sure. When something literally erupts, it explodes suddenly and with great force. The most obvious example is a volcano. A volcano erupts. Lava, ash, and smoke burst out very quickly.
Right. And we use erupt metaphorically when something starts suddenly, on a large scale, and with a lot of energy or force. It's not a slow or gradual process. It happens fast.
Exactly. So when the headline says the outbreak erupts, it means the situation exploded very quickly. It didn't grow slowly. It spread fast and became serious in a short period of time.
You'll see erupt used in news stories about diseases, violence, protests, and strong emotions. For example, violence erupted in the streets after the court's decision was announced.
You can also use it in a positive context. The crowd erupted in cheers when the home team scored the winning goal.
But in news headlines, it almost always signals something sudden and serious. And notice, erupts sounds more dramatic and urgent than just grows or spreads. That's intentional in headline writing.
We've had erupts start suddenly and on a large scale, like an explosion. For example, protests erupted across the country after the government announced the new policy.
This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. Today, we're talking about the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the serious challenges health workers are facing on the ground.
One of the biggest challenges is something you might not expect. It's not equipment or medicine, it's trust. Many people in affected communities do not believe the outbreak is real. Some think health workers are lying. Others think the treatments will harm them.
This kind of false belief is being spread through social media, word of mouth, and community networks, and it is making an already dangerous situation much worse.
And that's what our next headline is about.
This headline is from the Washington Post, an American newspaper.
Misinformation and attacks on health workers are fueling the Congo Ebola crisis.
And that headline again from the Washington Post. Misinformation and attacks on health workers are fueling the Congo Ebola crisis.
This headline uses the word misinformation. Anna, can you explain it?
Sure. Let's start with the root, information. Information is facts or knowledge about something. The prefix mis means wrong or incorrect. So misinformation is information that is wrong or false.
Right. And it's important to understand. Misinformation doesn't always mean someone is lying on purpose. It just means the information is incorrect. When someone spreads false information deliberately, we call that disinformation.
That's a great distinction. Misinformation, wrong information, possibly shared by mistake. Disinformation, wrong information spread on purpose to deceive people.
In the context of the headline, misinformation means false beliefs and false stories about Ebola. like the idea that health workers are poisoning people or that the outbreak isn't real. These false stories are spreading through communities and stopping people from getting help.
Misinformation is one of the most important words in modern English. You'll hear it constantly in discussions about public health, social media, politics, and science.
For example, misinformation about vaccines has made it harder to control preventable diseases in some parts of the world.
You might also hear spread misinformation, as in social media platforms are being used to spread misinformation about the outbreak.
We've had misinformation, false or inaccurate information, especially when it spreads widely. For example, health officials warned that misinformation about the new drug was discouraging patients from seeking treatment.
This is Learning English from the news from Doctors Speak Now. We're talking about the Ebola outbreak in Congo and the dangerous combination of a deadly virus, community distrust, and widespread false information.
Doctors Without Borders and the World Health Organization are working in the region, but health teams say that every time they enter a village, they risk being turned away, or worse, physically attacked.
In past outbreaks, similar problems have appeared. During the 2018 Ebola outbreak in Congo, health workers were attacked and killed. Experts say this is one of the most dangerous barriers to controlling any outbreak.
When communities don't trust health workers, sick people hide. They don't go to treatment centers. They continue their daily lives, contact their families, attend funerals, and the virus keeps spreading.
And here's another headline:
This headline is from NPR, an American public radio network.
Why Congo's Ebola outbreak is far more alarming than it looks.
And that headline, again from NPR, Why Congo's Ebola Outbreak is Far More Alarming Than It Looks.
This headline uses the word alarming. David, can you take us through it?
Sure. The noun alarm is a loud warning sound, like a fire alarm or a smoke alarm. It goes off when something dangerous is detected. It grabs your attention immediately.
Right. And when we add the suffix dashing to alarm, we get the adjective alarming. If something is alarming, it is worrying. It triggers that same feeling of danger or concern, even without a loud sound.
Exactly. The headline is saying the Ebola outbreak is more worrying than it might appear from the outside. On the surface, 500 cases might not sound catastrophic compared to other outbreaks. But when you add the misinformation, the attacks on health workers, and the spread toward other countries, the situation is alarming.
A quick grammar note here. Notice the difference between alarming and alarmed. These two forms work differently.
Right. Alarming describes the situation. The news was alarming. Alarmed describes how a person feels. I was alarmed by the news. The situation is alarming. The people are alarmed.
This pattern appears with many adjectives in English. Interesting versus interested. Terrifying versus terrified. The ing form describes the cause. The ed form describes the feeling.
For example, the rising number of cases is alarming. Health officials around the world are alarmed by the rising number of cases.
We've had alarming, worrying or causing concern, especially about something dangerous. For example, doctors described the speed at which the virus was spreading as alarming.
That's it for this episode of Learning English from the News. We'll be back next week with another news story.
For more health vocabulary and real-world English, check out our full series at drspeaknow.com.
Talk to you soon.
See ya!